A to the K.
To the K.
To the K. Hello, one and all. Welcome back to the A2theK Wrestling Show. Did I do it right?
Did it right?
Yeah,
Good
nice.
job.
Hey, I haven't done that.
And answer the intro. We like
anyway, welcome. So the reason I'm the one starting this off is because we're doing another hot takes, Carl.
Yes,
and
we
this
are.
is the podcast, the episode I really enjoy, where I get to bring hot takes to Carl and just watch him react to it and kick off about it a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little bit angry about about the
I'll be honest,
drop last time.
This time around, not to put you off with the first couple of minutes, I'm not sure you might get as angry about these ones. The topical, the talkable, but I don't know if you'll necessarily get as angry about the screw job. And for those who are curious, look at the last one because he got a bit upset about it.
Put up here, I figured out how to do those things where you
do the thing, click on the card thing or whatever. Yeah.
But watch this one first.
Well, yeah, that's vital. So,
new tab.
Concept, I'm going to introduce hot takes. I'm going to precursor this right now. These are ones that I found on the internet. They are not reflective of my opinion or Carl's opinion. And, some of them might be. I might agree with them, but that's not what this is about. This is about bringing a hot take to the table and discussing it. So, fuck off if you're upset about it, basically. So, Carl, shall we kick off? Shall we kick off? Right, the kick off.
Okay.
Right. Go.
Kick off, we will.
Okay.
It's a super kick to Hulk Hogan.
I feel like you're going to agree with this hot take, and I don't know
Shawn
how
Michaels
hot this,
and
I don't
Hulk
know how,
Hogan.
no, this isn't what you think it is.
Okay.
I picked Shawn Michaels to wind you up a little bit.
Okay.
But the hot take is that finishing moves should be protected again. And this is in line with things like Cody's move being used multiple times.
Yeah.
People on Reddit, where I've gone searching with these hot takes, are suggesting that finish moves are now pointless in the industry. Everyone just kind of spams them mid-match.
Yeah.
They no longer end a match. The whole ethos of it being a finish move, you've hit that and they're done. It's just gone and it needs to make a comeback. So the hot take is that finish moves should be protected again and they should be rarer to see.
Yeah, I kind of agree with it, I don't think it's that much of a hot take.
No.
The Cody one really winds me up.
I mean, the thing is, though, if people enjoy a move, like as formulaic as it is, like, people love seeing Roman do the spear and the fucking thing before it, and they love seeing him just wank his arm off before he does this Superman punch. People back in the day, they loved Hogan's leg drop and stuff like that. And I suppose it's people like Shawn who caused this in a way, because it's not even the finisher; it's the beats before it. It's let's go to the corner and let's stomp our foot and let's signal to everyone that it's going to happen so they can get hyped, and then. Like either the industry or the audience got addicted to that hype of like, well, let's do it. Let's get the audience on the feet kind of thing. And it's become that thing, hasn't it? It's more of a signal and everyone knows what's coming. Let's do that move rather than it being an end of match kind of deal.
For me, there's two pivotal moments because you had things like Jake Roberts' DDT was a finisher move.
Yeah.
It was literally DDT named after a fucking like toxic gas or whatever the fuck it was. Like that used to put people down. Now it's like a setup move for something else. It's a throwaway move. The super kick, everyone's got a fucking super kick, you know what I mean? So you've got moves that were finishes that now just become part of everyone's standard attack.
And do you think that kind of happens eventually anyway? Because people, as the business evolves,
well, that's it. They're trying to wow
DDT
people more.
Became something that moved to another move because people started playing with it.
Well, that's it, yeah. So like over time, they're like the fucking Canadian Destroyer and stuff. Like, how can we do this really impressive thing? Because it's always about trying to one up it and impress the audiences. But the other problem is when you've had these finisher spam matches, which you've seen, like WrestleMania matches where it's just like finisher, and everyone kicks out all the time. There's hardly any move that was protected. Baron Corbin's end of days got kicked out once. I think Drew McIntyre was the only one to kick out of it. Like that's a finisher move.
Speaking of Drew McIntyre, there is Claymore got pretty well protected.
It is to be fair. But yeah, like you do have this problem now, especially with like Cody's one, where it's like if it's not powerful enough to do it once and put you out, it's pretty shit then, isn't it? Yeah. If you got to do it 3 times, it's pointless as a finish. Yeah.
If you want a slightly hot take, Cody Cuss is a bit wank as well.
Yeah. Most of his moveset is pretty wank, if I'm honest.
There's something a little bit weaker about it, isn't it? Like, the cutter doesn't feel devastating like other cutters.
No.
And that's what kind of bugs me with it.
Because it's so cumbersome. It's awkward. Yeah. He's got to try and jump and...
Crossroads feels a little bit awkward.
Yeah. Like everyone takes it differently, don't they? Like some people can sell the fuck out of it. Like Chad Gable.
He sold that to be fair. Yeah.
That random security guy on that episode of SmackDown one time.
He sold the fuck out. Yeah.
Then you got some people who are just it's just dead awkward. So yeah, I don't think this is that hot of a take. I would like us to get back. I would like us to get back to where finishing moves are protected, but also not so predictable that as soon as you've hit a finishing move, it's game over. There's got to be a balance there. Like, I don't mind the occasional like roll up if someone could fucking know how to pin and make it look like you're being pinned.
Do you like fake outs where you think they're going to manage to hit the finisher and it doesn't happen?
Yeah, I like stuff
because
like
I think that's a better way of protecting it. It's like again, going back to Drew, you think he's going to get the Claymore and he managed to duck out the way, so they haven't been hit by it. So game on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stuff like that.
But you thought it was going to finish it.
Yeah, like if you've got one where it's like you think it's the end and they miss, and then all of a sudden they hit theirs, and it's like, oh, that's how close you came.
Yeah.
Love that. I love an RKO out of nowhere. Love stuff like that. But when you've got like these big elaborate finishes and setups and stuff like that, not for me. But yeah, protect them. Protect them more.
Something I forgot to mention because we already introduced it, a couple of hot takes in. What we do in honor of hot ones. In honor of hot ones, we do a level. We do the Scoffle level, I believe.
The Scoffle level. I love it.
I know. So, given that this is a fairly mild take, what level are you giving this?
Barely even, barely even scoffing at that. To be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, this hot take, and I think there's a little bit to discuss here. Is and I am easing you in, by the way. MMA style gimmicks in wrestling are actually boring as fuck.
Ooh.
I'm going to say gimmicks. I'm also going to open this up to matches. Because we've had a couple of MMA match types. This one being an example. The one they had in NXT was kind of quite good with fuck.
What's it called?
Why has he disappeared in my head?
Thatcher.
Thatcher was the other one, but I was trying to remember thingy's name. Well, I can't remember. Matt Riddle. Fucking hell. That took some doing. Yeah,
Riddle and Thatcher.
Riddle and Thatcher had an MMA match.
What was it called? It wasn't a Lions Den match, was it? That was Shamrock's thing, wasn't it? Didn't they just like...
It was, but I think it was akin to that because they had Angle as the referee, and they had the half caged where he was kind of on top, keeping an eye on them and stuff.
See,
it was, but like the gimmicked match, I think I want to bring that to the table as well as an MMA fighter being in WWE as a gimmick, because I think the gimmick match is I find that a bit jarring because you know that it's still predetermined because it's still WWE. So it's like, why are we trying to pretend like this is and in fact, doesn't it kind of take away from the disbelief of WWE as a whole if you go, but this one's real?
Yeah.
And you're like, but it's not though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of akin to the Brawl for All Night. We're going to have actual boxing matches, like, so it's the rest not actual. Like, what are we trying to sell here?
Yeah. No, I get that. There's quite a bit to unpack, I suppose. Whether or not MMA gimmicks are boring, like, maybe. I don't dislike, like, shoot fighter styles, like, you know, your submission specialists and that kind of thing. I like that there's different styles that people have. Someone coming out going, oh, I'm an MMA fighter. Yeah, that's a bit shit. If they've come from MMA, so obviously the picture here is Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, both former UFC fighters.
See, I consider that, though, that was more akin to, like, they're trying to have a match that's more of an MMA style match.
Yeah.
Which they're obviously both more than capable of. And that's where I take more issue with the match than the gimmick, because they're not coming out and going, I'm an MMA fighter. That's not what they're doing, to be fair.
Yeah. No, the match sucked, unfortunately. Do you know what I mean? It should have been good. They were two best friends.
And they should have used it as an opportunity to put Baszler over, because I think at this point they knew Ronda was going.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of these kind of, as you say, this time it's real matches. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's Raw Underground, and there's WWE Speed. They're the three things that are just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would agree with that. But yeah, I don't mind, like, the shooter style. Like, you know, Brett, one of my favorites of all time, he's very much like a shooter. Shamrock style wasn't that bad, technical. So I don't mind the style.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? Is it an issue when because everyone has like a style, but no one really announces it. It doesn't become your gimmick. It's like, it's your style. Like, they didn't even Shamrock, they didn't bring him out as the MMA guy. Do you know what I mean? But then inherently you go, well, MMA kind of doesn't have the same theatrics. So you go, are you instantly like hindering a person by going, he's the MMA guy?
Yeah. Like, to be fair, they handle it well with Brock. Like, Brock was a former UFC heavyweight champion.
Brock
and he's there and elbows the shit out of people and does stuff like that, and it puts people in Kimuras, and it's okay. So they handle that well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shamrock was never a massive one.
It's all just about the charisma of the person, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I think they probably had not so much the gimmick, is I think they've probably struggled successfully integrating MMA people into wrestling because
they just lean too much on the fact that they were like...
They're not talkers. Like, when they've had, like, like you say, Brock's have been an exception. Shayna and Ronda's certainly an exceptions, but they've had MMA fighters come in and not really last long in the WWE, or they've had a few matches in the WWE, but there's no mic skills there, is there? Because that's not what they're used to. Like Conor McGregor being an example, as controversial as it is right now, was like he was an exception to MMA, wasn't he? In terms of having that sort of banter about him, it wasn't really the thing. So I feel like it almost hinders it when you try and make it a gimmick.
Yeah.
But like,
trying to do the best you can with the skill set.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't really know where I landed there because there was some bits I agree with and some bits I didn't agree with. So
is it? I
think it's still mild.
Still
maybe
mild?
maybe
Okay.
I'm starting to feel a bit on the palate.
Okay. The sweat's going on. Right. So this is funny because we actually kind of talked about this in our previous segment.
Okay.
Right. So I think I know where you're going to land on this one. But this is that long title reigns are actually damaging to a wrestler because they always end up being boring, and the shorter the title reign is actually better. We're not talking hot potato in here, but like stupidly long title reigns, a la Roman Reigns, actually do more harm than good.
See, it's fascinating that I don't think it did Roman Reigns any harm because if anything, it cemented him as like the guy. Like no one can beat him. I don't think it should be a regular occurrence.
Well, it's funny because I looked at the comments on this one as well because I pulled this one from Reddit, and like interestingly, I think it's difficult because I agree. I don't think it harmed Roman, but I think a lot of the argument back was not that it necessarily harmed Roman, but the actual sum of that run, even as long as it lasted, was actually quite dull.
Yeah. Well,
there was highlights from it.
There was an extra challenge with Roman and the fact that he took a lot of time off as well. So it was like your main champion is not even on the show.
And that's the thing is like you had a large portion of that run was like trying to make entertaining TV without the champion or the belt.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting thing to have to deal with, and that was a exception to Roman with the health stuff and that. But a large part of the argument isn't like even obviously ultimately it says it's boring. It doesn't help the wrestler. I think that's probably the key, is that it doesn't necessarily harm the wrestler, but it doesn't help the wrestler because it does always end up being largely boring. Yeah.
Well, like, I mean, look at Cody's reign now. He's had it for nearly a year, hasn't he? WrestleMania's around the corner. Like, what's memorable from that? He had a decent match with AJ.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
That was like Backlash France, wasn't it? And Clash of the Castle. I was there for that. So he's had, a match or two with AJ, and it's like after that you kind of start drawing a blank.
It's mad though because I feel like he's only just picking up steam. Yeah. Like the stuff with Kevin Owens at the minute, and hopefully the inevitable thing with Randy. Like that's what I've been waiting for. This is where it's starting to build.
Yeah.
That feud has only just really started, and we're a year into his title reign. Everything else has been kind of random or meandering a little bit. So I kind of agree with the Cody title run. Is like they kind of didn't know after he finished the story. It's like, what do we do?
Yeah.
And I feel like they've only just found the feet.
Yeah. I do feel like maybe Cody's held it too long because it's just like, well, yeah, he's the champ, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but he should be. Like, it doesn't feel like the title picture is the main point anymore. No. It's still all about the bloodline and stuff like that.
Hasn't really been heavily featured at all, is it? So.
No. So yeah, it's a tough one. I don't think long title reigns necessarily hinder talent. I do feel like they should be an exception. Like, we're not in the territory days anymore. We are literally going to... There's 3 shows a week, or whatever there is. It's on Netflix. It's seen everywhere. We need more title changes more frequently, I think.
Well, I think there's a sweet spot, isn't there? Because you can't have it too frequently. I think that's quite damaging as well.
Yeah.
So it's like finding that sweet spot, isn't it? Going, well, we don't want to have it forever, but we don't want them to lose it like in a week. You know what I mean?
I think like 4 or 5 title changes a year should be fine.
Yeah.
But then even some people might think that's too much because it's like, what, one every 2 months or something.
Annoyingly though, you can't make it formulaic, can you?
No.
You can't go, well, now it's time for a title change.
Yeah.
Like you have to be still unpredictable.
Well, if you think back to like the golden, not really the golden era, but you think back to like the Attitude Era or the Ruthless Aggression Era, whatever, it was fascinating because you had like Austin, Rock, Taker, people like that all going after the title, and it all felt, Triple H was always chasing it, and it was like, it felt big that you could change a title and it would go back and forth between them because that was part of their rivalry. The problem we've got now, you've got a champion and he has a fight or two and then he'll move on to someone else and he'll move on to someone else.
But the irony is though, they could have that now because like, some people might even say to you there, well, like, yeah, because they were all like mega stars, and you go, well, look at now, like equivalent of today. Like, I don't know, some people will argue that Austin and Rock and all that, they were bigger stars. You could argue that that's fine. It's from your era. If you look at this era now and you go, well, Drew, legitimate star. Seth, legitimate star. Roman, Cody.
Yeah.
Friggin' Gunther's getting there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't mind them trading titles.
You could have that going on now. And I think that would work really well. But instead, they're kind of, no.
Yeah.
I totally miss Punk out of that as well.
The Drew and Punk thing didn't by no means needed to be for the title.
No, 100%. And there are times when you don't need the title involved.
Yeah, if it was for the title, though, I wouldn't have had any problem with that changing 2 or 3 times during that feud.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it would have been like, oh, okay, this is heating up kind of thing. But
yeah.
Where did I land on this one then? Again, because it was one that
I feel like you wholly agree with it, so that means it's not spicy to you.
Yeah, mustn't be. Yeah. Easy work.
Yeah. You don't even need
not that hot take.
Need a glass of milk here, do you?
No hot takes at all.
Fine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this one I think coming from a bit of an angry place here on Reddit, but the hot take was not every member of the Anoa'i family needs to be signed with WWE.
I mean, yeah.
And I think it's come from obviously the dirt sheets more than WWE themselves, because everyone's talking like, oh, Talatonga's signed, and we're waiting on Zilla Fatu, and every time there's a Anoa'i family member on the indies, it's like, well, we need to get them to WWE. And that's not even WWE being vocal about it. That's the fan base themselves. But the defense of that and the argument of that and the reason it's potentially a hot take is that not every fucking Anoa'i family member has to be in WWE.
Yeah, I mean...
And I think the reason I wanted to bring this in as mild as a take you could argue this is like, let's talk about the people they have brought in and whether it's actually helping the bloodline stuff. Because we were all still we were all still rooting for the core bloodline members, and no one really cares too much about like Bloodlight, if we're honest. We were waiting for them to be beaten, and they've served their purpose well.
Yeah.
But after that, what is the deal?
So they brought in obviously Tama Tonga's not being used probably the way that especially you would have liked to see him used.
100%.
Tonga Loa's become a meme.
Yes, 100%.
You know,
I mean, through his own bloody fault, like.
But he's become a meme. So, like those guys, the Gorillas of Destiny, probably haven't been used right at all. Jacob Fatu, on the other hand, people are like, okay, he's
ready. But the thing is, the longer they take for him to actually just ruin Solo, it's going to be fucking jarring for people because they're selling it now because he's like weirdly attached to Solo. Like, I love you, Solo.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, he's nuts. But like the minute he decides he doesn't love Solo, I feel sorry for Solo, and that's we're all kind of waiting on that because he's going to tear them apart.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think I've been pleasantly surprised with Solo. I think his gimmick was awful. He just had a towel on his head and was just like didn't speak and didn't do anything. He was an enforcer. So to then, it was a bit rocky to start with, but now he's
finding his feet a bit.
Yeah, I think he has found his feet. I think he's done a respectable job, to be fair to him. So I don't think that's bad either. And he's obviously still quite young in the grand scheme of things. So
he's got a long career.
He'll evolve. But I don't mind it so much. I think it was somewhat necessary to do it in order to further the bloodline stuff.
I agree.
I don't know where you could have gone with just the Usos.
I think it's helped the bloodline story overall, but I think we are going to get to a point that the bloodline aren't going to be feuding.
Yeah.
And you go, well, once you brought all these people in to serve that story,
what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Like, and that's maybe when you can start developing Tama as a solo star or push them in the tag division more or whatever.
There's options, isn't there? Like, for me, the Anoa'i family are like one of the biggest dynasties in wrestling. You had all the fucking Hearts on WWE at one point. You know, no one was going, oh, we shouldn't have Bulldog and Jim Neidhart and Owen and Brett and fucking whoever else there. They were fine with that. The Von Erichs were all in the same territory.
I suppose the question, though, is like, is it... Because the territory days were a little different because you would move around. But is it, like, beneficial, I suppose, to the wrestling industry as a whole to share that lineage and that bloodline across the indies and across other companies like AEW and stuff? Like, do we want, like, all the... forgive the polite way of putting it, but do we want all the Samoans only in WWE?
Yeah, I get what you mean. Like, you can obviously share them across Raw, SmackDown, and some of them could be in NXT.
Because that was elements of this hot take of going, they shouldn't all be signed to WWE. And then you go, well, I mean, Jacob, arguably fantastic run in MLW.
I think Jacob's
it's a loss to MLW.
Yeah.
And it is his time to be in WWE. But you go, well, like, Zilla Fatu, as an example.
Yeah.
Like, does he need to go to WWE now? Not necessarily.
I think they should be in WWE when they're ready to be in WWE, not just because they're an Anoa'i. You know what I mean?
But do you think there may be an acceleration of bringing them into WWE?
100%. Yeah. There definitely has been, I think, to further this storyline. I don't necessarily think the ones who are there now are at massive risk once the bloodline thing ends. But if you did bring in like your Hikaleos, for example, is he proven really? Can he talk?
No.
Is he just a big
guy?
You
hope that if they do bring him in, he'd go to NXT because he needs the solo treatment, doesn't he? He needs a bit of work and a bit of development in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's an element of like the whole nepotism side to it as well, though, isn't there? So because of their family name, they've got people pull like The Rock fucking.
I mean, he owns
a part,
massive shareholder in the company.
So he's obviously going to be like, I'll sort you guys out.
I mean, family meals would just be a pain if he didn't.
Exactly.
After your cousin.
Which one? There's 23. Then you've got like bloody Rikishi's getting involved and stuff and trying to like. Obviously, our friend Devon was in the news the other day trying to get his sons back over to WWE now and stuff as well. So it's like, you know what I mean? Just part of it, isn't it? But do I think everyone on this bloodline tree needs to be in WWE? No. But I don't think what has been done so far has been too bad.
Okay.
So I guess, do I find that spicy then? Is that relatively spicy? Because I kind of disagree with it.
Yeah, I suppose it'd have to be spicy because you disagree.
Yeah. It's not like the bomb levels.
No,
like
I mean,
scoff.
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if you were like losing it over that one.
Yeah. Starts to feel a little bit of heat now, I think. Okay. I may have had a sip of water.
Not that Latino heat though.
No, definitely not.
Cool. Okay. Now, again, I'll remind people this is not our feelings. Joe Hendry, despite having his 15 minutes of fame, not that good of a wrestler.
Don't massively disagree.
I mean, I'd argue if we're talking on a technical sense, like wrestler as a term kind of bugs me because you go, well, and I say this so many times, I'm so sorry, but Hulk Hogan wasn't that good of a wrestler, right? But
every week
there's a whole package to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like, and he's definitely got a ton of charisma. Like the videos and stuff he's done on TNA. Like, did you see him ruin Ryan Nemeth?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Fantastic. And you could argue that he's fantastic in that sense, and he's definitely got that it factor, for lack of sounding like fucking Louis Welsh. But in a technical sense, I'd probably agree. Yeah. Like, technically in the ring, he doesn't wow you. But
no. Do you know what as well? Like, I've got an even spicier hot take. Oh. Right, people will probably come at me for saying this. How different is he really to Elias?
I mean, I would argue maybe he's coming across as a little bit more charming. But
I mean, he's got more charisma. But like, he essentially gets in the ring and does concerts, tries to make people laugh, and then sometimes wrestles.
Yeah. And that's kind of Elias.
That's not a slight on him. I think the stuff he's done.
And to be fair, you walked with Elias, so
I like Elias.
You were a fan. Yeah.
But like, he has done some really funny skits. He's obviously got his bloody theme song in the charts. Like, he's done some really cool stuff. Yeah. But when it boils down to it, what's the longevity of this gimmick now, where he makes songs about people? Yeah. And then ultimately, if that's not going to last, what's the rest of the package he's offering? And it's like, that's the thing. He's fine. He's good.
And I dare say, I think that's what WWE have done. They've used the popularity to benefit them. But I think even they understand that it's like, it's a trend, and it will.
People are like clamoring for him to be one of the entrants in the Royal Rumble, aren't they, as well? And it's like, if he does that, is there much?
Well, he'll come in, they'll all get a pop for the music, they'll all clap, and he will get thrown out.
Yeah. He's not winning, is he?
No, 100%. Yeah. And I'll give you the bonus hot take that I mentioned before we went on the air, that the stuff he did with the Hardys was actually quite cringe.
Yeah, I hadn't actually seen it, to be honest, and I've been really like a lot of what TNA's doing at the minute. But I think it just screams like, let's jump on the bandwagon. Like
that's where I was coming. I was like, Hardys are going, that's really popular at the minute.
Yeah, it's like, they're the Hardys. Do they really need to jump on the fucking coattails of like Joe Hendry? No. Strange. And it's like, Matt looks fucking creepy and possessed as fuck, and Jeff Hardy
fucking scary.
Doesn't look like he wants to be there at all.
I mean, he may not have been.
Well,
but yeah. So are you're agreeing with this take?
I'm agreeing with it.
You think he's overrated?
Yeah,
he's not that good a wrestler.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that Joe.
Sorry,
that Joe.
Load of charisma. Don't get me wrong. And
you got the Riz
from Scotland to get all the way, and who knows? It can happen. Drew McIntyre only became like fucking top level, like amazing properly this year. So
it's funny because you want his like when he weren't that good, you want the music back from that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, here he is, CM Punk. I knew he'd be on this list.
I don't think you're going to disagree with this take.
It's just Carl agrees with hot takes.
It really is. This is a difficult week for that. The hot take, and this did cause a lot of argument, to be fair, online, because he has his fans. But the hot take is actually that CM Punk is never, like, not now, we're not talking now, whole sum of career, has never actually been that good, or certainly as good as he believes he is.
I mean...
Now, don't be wrong, when they say believes he is, it's a character work, isn't it? When he's there going, I'm the best in the world. That's a character thing.
I don't know how much of that is a character thing.
But it, like, you can only go off the on-screen character. He's telling people he's the best in the world, and in a way, you've got to bet on yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
But is he actually that good at wrestling?
It's fascinating, this one. When he first came to WWE and he had the long hair and all that, I didn't get it at all, to be honest. And I was just like, okay, another guy. Didn't do anything to wow me, right? We had the Summer of Punk, the promo, the pipe bomb, the stuff with Money in the Bank. That was all epic.
Yeah.
It was literally a couple of months.
Yeah.
And he's been living off that, I think, ever since.
Yeah.
He can talk. 100% he can talk. Some of the promos he's done, like with Drew and stuff like that. Some of the stuff he did in AEW promo-wise with MJF. Great talker. In ring, not bad by any means. He's okay. But I do think he's massively overrated.
Interesting. Thought you'd agree with that take. It's I kind of agree with it myself, to be honest. Like you say, the stuff that's remembered, like they forget how many years he was there, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't remembered as well. Like, I'm not going to say he's a bad wrestler, and it's a hot take, largely because he's a Paul Heyman guy. So you're coming at Paul Heyman here saying he's not got it, Paul. You're a liar. So just saying, Paul, like,
yeah. I have so much respect for that man, to be fair.
And he sees it, you know what I mean? Like you say, Punk showed it in the Summer of Punk, but you can't always blame the machine that you're in as to, like, oh, this is why it didn't work, you know what I mean? It's like, for the most, he's obviously going to go down in history, you know, in the business, but is he as good as he truly believes he is? That's the hot take here.
That is the hot take. I don't know how. I don't know if there's truth to, you know what I mean? Is it gimmick? Is it truth? But I do think he rates himself massively. I don't think he thinks he's the best to ever do it. I think obviously you can see he loves Brett and people like that, and that's who he's took his inspiration.
Let's go with that. Let's try and use that as our gauge. Do you think? Let's never mind what Punk thinks, but do you think he's up there with the likes of Brett in terms of being a wrestler?
A million miles away.
Yeah.
In ring wise, fucking light years away. Promo wise, probably better than Brett.
Yeah, fair. Brett was never the strongest talk. He could hold a promo.
Oh, he was good.
He wasn't the worst
people
either,
think he can't talk. He could talk. He could carry promos and feuds for that. But as a talker, like Punk's great at that.
Yep.
But he's nowhere. It's not even in the same like echelon as like Cena or Orton or that. For me, he's just what I mean.
Yeah.
He's a guy who got to the top. Yeah. He's a Shawn Michaels.
Got to the top.
He's a Shawn Michaels.
By a rock.
People, right? I was having this argument the other day. Like, people, there was something on Reddit, and it was like the generations someone had made, and it was like Hogan, and then it went from Hogan to Austin, and from Austin to Cena, and from Cena to Cody Rhodes, and from Cody Rhodes to Roman Reigns. Or them two might be the other way around. And I was like, where the fuck is Brett? There's a massive like thing going from, how do you go from Hogan to Austin? You've cut out a whole time frame there.
You wouldn't even connect Hogan and Austin, so you need something in between it. Really.
So they need something in the middle of that. But everyone was like, no, Shawn needs to be on there. And I was like, Shawn was the guy for like 2 years. And most of the time he was there, he was like, I've got a bad back, or I'm off my fucking tits on cocaine. Oh, I've lost my smile. Like, he was fucking, no way you can say he was the top guy. You know what I mean? He is Punk. Punk had the Summer of Punk. And everyone's like, oh, he's amazing. It's like, no, he was good for a few months. Same with Shawn. Oh my God, he was on top for like a year and a half.
This is why we do hot.
Yeah,
and he still ended up talking about Shawn.
If it comes back to Shawn, I have to do it.
So you're saying he's more of a Shawn Michaels. He loves Brett, but he's more of a Shawn.
Yeah. Sorry, Punk. That's how I feel about you, to be fair.
I mean, he obviously gets along with Shawn as well. He wants to fill his shoes in NXT. Okay, so that was quite mild then, because you totally agree with it.
Totally agreed.
Okay,
totally agreed.
Okay, so that's good. You get a bit of bit of ease off before we get into the next.
I feel like I'm just having catch up at this point on the scuffle scale.
No, just madness.
Okay. Brock Lesnar trying to eat his finger.
So this is probably more topical than anything else because people are very up and down over this, and I actually don't know where you land on this one. And this is based around the controversy. The hot take was that Brock Lesnar should never be allowed to return. Like there's no redemption here. He should never be allowed to return to WWE. And some people were totally agreeing with it. Oh yeah, being involved in the Vince stuff, horrendous, blah blah. And some people were just like, he was great, and we don't even know if any of that's true, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to debate whether the allegations were true, but based on the allegations and based on the reason WWE distanced themselves from him, do you think he should never be allowed a path back to WWE?
I mean, there's been people who've done plenty worse, and that maybe people are going to come at me for saying that, but there's been people that have done some crazy, crazy shit that have always found their way back to WWE.
Let's be honest, if this was Vince, if this was the thumbnail of Vince, we'd probably both be sat here going, no, we should never be allowed to again.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, from my understanding, the accusations against Brock is that he got sent videos or pictures.
That's as I understand it. Like, unless there's other stuff that I'm not aware of, I believe it was like Vince was one of the people Vince was messaging was him. Basically, it was as I understood it.
Yeah, like was there something in his contract? Or like, did he say something like when he comes back he can have his way with her or something? Like, was it ever proven that he did? Like,
well, that's the thing.
If he was that involved with it, then it's like
I don't even think the accusations were that he did anything to her or anything like that. So, and correct me again if I'm wrong, but well, let's go off the basis that we understand it, that he was involved in some way with that Janelle Grant stuff.
Yeah.
And he should never be allowed a redemption or a path back to WWE.
Yeah.
And again, I would support that for people saying that about Vince.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like for the acts that happened with Vince and Johnny Ace and stuff like that, then yeah, they've absolutely fucking burnt that bridge. You know what I mean? Like what they've done was atrocious. If someone's come back to the company and your boss is like, oh, mate, I've got some stuff here, I've got to show you on my phone, like some mad shit. You know what I mean? Like, not great that he's sending that around, especially if he didn't have a permission and stuff like that. That's a whole different thing. But I don't think Brock should be blackballed for that. You know what I mean? For his boss sending him pictures of stuff that happened. Like,
do you think we will see Brock back at WWE then?
I'd like to see him back. I think he's done enough for the company that he should be able to go out on the terms that.
Because you probably saw it the same as I did on the internet. Like the name cropped up, like when Paul Heyman was going to ring someone, the name cropped up. Because he was a Paul Heyman guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes you go, well, people are clamoring for it because he would have been a surprise. And it seems for the most like a welcome one, but there are people who are like, no, he shouldn't. And it is probably going to divide people. And I can see WWE being risk averse, so I don't think it'll be anytime soon. But
the thing is, right? I mean, maybe this isn't how it should be, but it seems to just be the way it is that time seems to, not heal all wounds, but things seem to get forgotten about. You wait long enough for something to kind of blow over, and all of a sudden it's fine to bring them back. Hulk Hogan is, by all accounts, a terrible, terrible racist, but he's still going to rock up. Ric Flair is literally...
It's like, terrible racist, and then he rocks up and it's, I am a real American. You're like,
Ric Flair, what he's been accused of doing and stuff like that, he's welcomed back and things. So look, I think that's what I kind of meant before. Like, I mean,
it's the thing. If the take was never.
If it's to be believed, I don't know whether it ever got proven, but Jimmy Snuka, for example, and stuff that he's been involved in, he was, that's a lot worse. So yeah, I think Brock deserves to be able to come back and finish his career on his own terms. And I think he should, not be accepting solicited pictures from anybody else in the future.
Okay, so you don't agree with that take, the never element, that you should never come back. So that would have been quite a spicy one for you.
Yeah, it's probably like a medium. Yeah. Like I'm starting to feel the spice again now. I think.
Good. Okay.
So
the next one, Carl.
Oh, the man we just.
Don't worry, it's not about the controversies actually.
Ric
this
Flair.
is more akin to the CM Punk side of things,
right?
In terms of that hot take, And the suggestion was that Ric Flair is massively overrated and was never that good.
Oh, hurts me. Hurts me, to be honest. I disagree.
Okay.
Completely disagree.
I think this is actually born of a different era. People who don't remember. Yeah, we're getting generations now who never really had Rick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or the Rick they remember is the one who was in Evolution.
Yeah.
Which is like
100%
twilight of career Rick. Yeah. And I think that's where this take is coming from.
Yeah.
But as a fan of the golden era, especially, Carl,
it's just I feel
like you should talk on this.
It's just ignorance. You know what I mean? And to be fair,
it's just ignorant.
It's just ignorant. To be fair to Flair, as the legend Bobby Heenan would say, he did so much stuff for the wrestling industry even before I was into it. You know what I mean? I got into it the golden era of WWF.
Yeah.
The stuff he did for fucking NWA and stuff he did for bloody, WCW and things like that. Like, he was massively instrumental. And people can rip him and say, he stole fucking the Nature Boy gimmick from, Buddy Rogers or wherever he stole it from. And it's like, fine. But he still got it over. He still was the biggest stuff. Right.
The thing is, if you say the Nature Boy, people are going to Ric Flair. Doesn't really matter where they come from at this point.
But there's no denying what a fucking massive, monumental thing it was when they signed Rick to WWF and they wanted to do Hogan versus Rick.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the moment people will not remember now. Is getting Rick to the WWF was a big fucking deal.
Yeah, it was massive. And obviously Hogan being Hogan didn't work for him, brother. So it didn't the match we got. So we ended up with Savage and Flair and Sid and Hogan, didn't we? But that match would have been immense. I know they did do it in WCW years later, but it had gone. Yeah. But the stuff, the rivalry you have with the likes of Dusty and things like that, fucking brutal cage matches, and he put wrestling on the map in the South just as much as Hogan did up north. So that's shocking. Educate yourselves, guy. I know he
Is it a glass of milk?
The bomb got me. I know in his later life and stuff like that, and probably during his younger life as well, he's not exactly been the best of role models, I suppose. But career-wise, legacy-wise,
that's the thing, we're talking career, because they're saying he's overrated and was never that good. Yeah. So we're not talking about as a person or controversies. It's literally just career-wise, overrated and not that good.
Yeah.
We're saying
bullshit. That's complete bullshit, yeah. Especially for the stuff he did in late 70s, early 80s. Realistically, by the time he did his WWF run, he was kind of towards the end of his twilight. He went back to WCW, but were kind of didn't do a whole lot there. And then when he came back to WWE for Evolution and stuff, you could tell he didn't have the confidence and stuff like that because he thought that his career was, the thing of the past. But, Triple H kind of brought that out of him and kind of got him back. But yeah, this late 70s, early 80s, Ric Flair was, just as big as Hogan.
And we're talking year, aren't we? We're not talking age. Because late 70s, early 80s Flair wrestling at the moment is just terrifying.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Decades.
The fact that you can say that as well is fucking nuts.
That is.
There we are.
But yeah, no, I don't think he's overrated. He's one of the best to ever do it.
Okay. So Carl just needs to calm down a little bit from that one. I've structured this a little bit, Matt, because they're all kind of on this kind of line now, unfortunately.
Okay.
This one's a little bit different in the sense that this isn't talking about Rhea as a wrestler or career-wise. This is talking specifically about her runs as champion and the fact that basically people have a go at Liv as a champion and that she doesn't deserve it, etc. And the counter-argument and the hot take that's come from this is, if you look at Rhea's championship runs, they weren't actually that good. She didn't defend them that often, and obviously there was injuries and stuff too, but she's actually not actually had that good a title run herself in any case. And that was arguably a defense to the Liv argument, but at the same time is I don't know if I agree with that. I thought she did, especially her most recent run under her most recent character as a champion, I thought she did really well. And the suggestion that she didn't defend it enough is got Roman rocking around there, you know what I mean? Is that really a fair take? But I thought I'll bring it to the table. So we're not talking Rhea as a whole, we're talking as a champion, she's not been that great anyway.
Do you know what? So firstly, she had to vacate the belt because of injury.
Yes.
So we don't know what would have happened.
True.
Secondly, And people can say all the nice stuff they want about Triple H and the fucking Renaissance era and everything he's doing and blah, 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 right? Still doesn't put enough emphasis on the women's division. They're still just kind of there. There's a couple of stories going on.
Yeah.
You can't tell me any of the champions in the women's division have, really strapped it on their back and fucking led the charge and been like, Becky. What the fuck did Becky do when she was champ? Really? You know what I mean? Liv, like, again, she's hardly had anything to do.
Liv seems to be getting more flack than most, and I think this has been some of the argument. Is like I argue, I probably maybe could have put the hot take as like, does Liv deserve the hate she's getting? And we can discuss that as well, because this hot take has come from that defense of, because it's like, what's she doing that's making her worse than Rhea?
Yeah.
Well, that's making her worse than Becky in that case. Like, what's she doing with her title run that's making her worse?
To be fair, like, I've not got the stats in front of me. I imagine Rhea defended the title more times than Liv. It feels like Liv's had about 2 matches for the belt.
To be fair, yeah, she's not had a great deal of defenses.
As I was just quite critical of Triple H and like the storylines for women, like she has been heavily involved in the storyline with Dom and Rhea and Judgment Day and all that stuff.
That's probably been the most notable story.
So, other than doing Liv versus Rhea for the title every week, what do? You don't get her involved with someone else, really. They're trying to do it now with EO and stuff, aren't they? They had to put like some like tournament together to see who was going to challenge her, and it's like feels forced. So yeah, I don't think either of them deserve any flack for anything. At the end of the day, there's only so much time, and for whatever reason, Triple H chooses to fill the time with other storylines and things more.
And you're right, and you can see the issue with it, with things like look at War Games, like how and it's no disrespect to any of the women involved in the women's War Games match, but like how slapped together did that match feel?
Oh, it was completely thrown together, wasn't it?
When you've got so much story around the other War Games, and the women's one was like, well, we need, like, to the point they even put Bailey with a member of Damage Control, and kind of just ignored that.
That's
was
it,
a
and
problem.
then suddenly EO's a babyface, and then Bahira and Bailey are now babyfaces, but they still don't like each other. But they'll take like what?
Yeah.
None of that made sense. That match was just a load of crap. If Rhea hadn't have been able to come back, from an orbital thing to be in the match itself, it would have been even worse, because the only semblance of a feud that was going on was it was Team Liv and Team Rhea.
Yeah.
And even then they tried to build it as like Team Bianca, and it was like, well, why?
Yeah.
Based on what?
So it's So you don't agree with this stuff?
No, not at all. I mean, it's a bit of a weird one in terms of how they're phrasing it, but I think ultimately it comes down to it's none of the women's fault. But there's not really any massively compelling title programs for the women.
You're kind of agreeing with it though, aren't you? Because you're saying none of them have had a great title run. In a way, you're agreeing with the hot take, and that's not a disrespect to the women. It's that they're not given the opportunity to have.
Exactly. It's not like someone's gone like, oh no, Rhea's like Liv's getting all this flack, but Rhea's was shit. No one's actually gone, oh yeah, but Becky's was amazing, or Nia's has been amazing, because it hasn't, has it? So yeah, weird. So what does that mean? Am I spiced? Am I not spiced?
I don't know. I feel like I'd say this is probably going to have to be like a mid-tier thing, because I feel like you kind of agree with the concept of the title runs not being great, but not that Rhea's is particularly worse than anyone else's. So I would probably say maybe it's a little bit, maybe got a little bit of a kick.
Okay. Which takes us to the last one, I believe.
The last one, mate. And again,
it's a sad set.
I don't know, total similar line. So apologies, because we've had a few of these where it's like specifically about a wrestler, and I'll try and mix it up for the next one.
Okay.
But this one's a bit mean. But it's that Seth is actually horribly bland and has had no decent gimmick other than being in the Shield. And I wanted to bring this one to you because I feel like you were quite a fan of the Beast Slayer.
I was a massive fan of the Beast Slayer.
And I personally was a big fan of the Messiah. But
he did some good work as the Messiah as well. I think his current gimmick, what is his current gimmick? Seth. He's a guy that laughs.
He's Seth.
He laughs a lot and dresses funny. That's his gimmick. You know what I mean? He's had a massive fall from grace, in my opinion.
Do you think that the hot take's coming from people looking at him now and forgetting the career he's had? Because to say that he hasn't done anything decent since the Shield, I think is a bit disingenuous. Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Shield are great, but I think when he started standing on his own 2 feet, as part, like, what was he? Before he was like Beast Slayer and stuff, when he was Triple H's little protege and stuff, I'm not
even sure what you'd have called him then.
Yeah.
Was it called him like the Architect?
Yeah, maybe. So like he was really good doing that, and then obviously got injured. And he was like reclaim, rebuild, whatever. And I think he's had really decent runs. Beast Slayer was one of my favorites. The Messiah stuff was good.
I think that deserves more love than it got.
Yeah, it was some of his best promo work, I think.
Yeah,
and obviously recruiting like Buddy and stuff like that and things.
Just coming back and being like having the roster not like him and then being like, I'm here to save.
Yeah.
Raw, I think it was at the time. And you're like, the arrogance of it. I really like that as a character. I thought it was great.
He's fallen into like the pit that a lot of current stars fall into, where like his theme music's more over than he is. People like to go whoa, and he dances and laughs.
Yeah,
that's it. And because he's a good wrestler, people are like, okay, if he couldn't wrestle, then he'd be fucked.
Do you think that's why? Like, I know he's not had this in a while, but like it seems that he kept getting put in like the gimmick. He might like, oh, he'll fight Logan Paul because he's a great wrestler and we need this guy to have a match. And he seems to be getting sort of put in stuff like that for a bit. Like, I don't know, he's obviously got a feud building now with Punk potentially.
Well, yeah, it seems like where they're going. I mean, he was world champ, wasn't he? Let's be fair. Like,
of course. I mean, he was I thought he was a fantastic choice to be the first one to hold that belt.
Yeah.
And like you say, as much as like you could, I do totally agree with your point about his current gimmick.
Yeah. On that point though, so he won the belt with his current gimmick.
Yeah.
The reason he was a great choice to be it was because of the legacy he's built from his other gimmicks.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So it's like,
so you could argue that iteration of Rollins probably
he didn't become the world champion because he was in the Shield. No. He became a world champion because of the stuff he'd done since he left the Shield. The problem is now is that he just doesn't know what he is, and no one knows what he is, but he's got a catchy theme song that people like to sing along to.
Yeah.
That's it. And he laughs a lot.
So, again, this is probably a little bit mid for you then, isn't it? Because you agree with his current gimmick being boring.
His current one's boring, but I disagree.
But you can't say that he hasn't had a good one since the Shield.
Yeah, that's BS. I'd like him to find his way. Maybe he needs to go back to the Messiah. He needs to, I don't know, he's got all the potential in the world to be the guy, but he's just floating at the moment.
Yeah, I see that. That's fair. Okay. So that's our hot takes, Carl. And I think the one that truly burnt your face off was Ric Flair.
Ric Flair, how can he say that? I mean, it was no Montreal Screwjob.
No.
That's a whole different level for me. That's where it hurts, you know what I mean? But
I have to try and do a festive themed hot take for you.
Oh.
Sat here at a Christmas jumper, we've not even mentioned Christmas.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
We'll have to try and make a kind of festive approach to it somehow.
Hot cocoa takes.
Yeah. Maybe do one about Godfather. One of the most festive ones.
Yeah.
Hose.
Yeah. Lots of hose. Ho ho hos. So they were our hot takes. Bloody hell, nearly an hour's worth.
There you go. We can talk.
Do you agree? Well, do you agree with the hot take? Do you agree with the stuff we were talking about? Let us know. Christmas is fast approaching, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
holidays are coming.
Holidays are coming. All right, wearing a Coca-Cola jumper, we get it. But yeah, we should have some festive fun. Hopefully we'll have our big fat quiz of the year coming back. We'll have the A2theK returning. And maybe another surprise or two up our sleeve. So yeah, until then, have a good one. We'll see you on the next one.